Hello, this is Belinda Reed, and this is my video presentation in applying cost volume profit analysis to improve managerial decision making in a multi channel small business, a case study in vending and frozen dessert operations. I hope you enjoy this presentation. Many small businesses measure success by looking at revenue growth. If sales are increasing, it feels like the business is moving forward. However, revenue alone does not guarantee sustainability. Once commission platform fees, supply costs, and operating expenses are deducted, what remains per sales dollar can be significantly smaller than it initially appeared. In this project, I examined the disconnect by applying the cost volume profit analysis to my own multi-channel business operations. Cost volume profit analysis, or CVP, is a managerial accounting tool that evaluates how fixed costs, variable costs, pricing, and sales volume interact to determine profitability. Instead of focusing primarily on revenue totals, CVP shifts attention towards contribution margins, which represent the portion of each sales dollar available to cover fixed costs and generate income. It also identifies the break-even point and evaluates operating leverage, which measures how sensitive profit is to changes in volume. I applied CVP to two operating segments, both of my businesses, BZR Vending, which operates under an institutional contract with a commission-based deduction structure, and Lit Ices, which generates sales through a third-party platform, DoorDash, and direct pickup. Although both segments generate recurring revenue, they operate under different cost behaviors that affect contribution differently. The overall contribution margin across both segments was approximately 15.42%. That means about 15 cents of every dollar in sales is available to absorb fixed costs. While the business generates consistent activity, the contribution percentage is relatively thin. This creates a narrow margin of safety, meaning small changes in volume can have a noticeable financial impact. When I modeled the break-even performance, it became clear that the business must maintain steady revenue before generating meaningful operating income. Because the contribution margin is limited, increasing sales volume alone does not dramatically improve profitability unless the margin is also strengthened. I then evaluated a proposed expansion. The addition of frozen vending machines with Lit Ices incorporated within as a new revenue stream. Now, on the surface, the opportunity is extremely appealing. It increases distribution access and revenue potential. However, the frozen vending machine introduced additional fixed cost exposure tied to the equipment acquisition and maintenance. Through the CVP framework, expansion is no longer evaluated based on projected revenue alone. Instead, the focus shifts to whether the additional contribution generated by the frozen vending machines can offset the increase in fixed costs. If the contribution grows in proportion to the added cost structure, sustainability improves. But if the fixed costs rise faster than the contribution, the break-even threshold increases and financial sensitivity becomes greater. What stood out the most to me during this analysis is how CVP reframes managerial thinking. Revenue growth may indicate activity, but contribution margin indicates structural strength. Before conducting this analysis, revenue growth might have appeared sufficient as a measure of progress. But after applying CVP, I recognized that financial sustainability depends on contribution quality, cost behavior, and operating leverage. This project demonstrates that cost, volume, profit analysis is not merely a mathematical model. It is a structured decision support tool, and it provides clarity. It encourages disciplined evaluation of expansion, and it strengthens financial planning within small business environments where margins are limited and risks must be managed carefully. Ultimately, CVP shifted my perspective from focusing on how much the business is selling to focusing on how effectively each sale supports long-term sustainability. Thank you. I hope you enjoy this presentation.